Hello, Abie Longstaff. Lovely to meet you, and thank you so much for joining us for the Reading Zone Book Club event
today.
Great
to see you all. It's really lovely to be in your classroom just through the computer. So I'm going to read you a bit of the story, and then I've got lots of things to show you, and I'll show you some of the things that I like to make and some of the drawings and writing that I like to do. So we'll do that afterwards. But first of all, let me just start by reading the story. I'll just get it up now, my Wizzy computer. So here we are. This is the starter book story soup. So here's Ollie. Ollie was mixing a story. He stirred the soup pot and added a skateboard. There it is going in. The mixture churned and foamed. And look, it's going blub, 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 and something's coming out of his story pot. Whoosh! A story shot out. Once upon a time, there was a brave skateboard. And there's a story coming out with a skateboard. But somebody is listening. Let's see what's going to happen. The kitchen door burst open and Ollie's sister, Susie, came running in. A story, she cried. Can I put something in? Nope, said Ollie. This story is only going to be about skateboarders. Look behind you, Susie pointed. And when Ollie turned, she dropped in a princess. And I wonder what's going to happen next. You can start imagining what might happen and what might come out of the story pot. So that's the story of Story Soup. And I'm going to tell you a little bit now about how I make a story. I like to mix my stories too. So I have a bowl here for mixing, and I have a spoon to mix my things in. And I put all my ideas into my mixing bowl, and that's what helps me get the idea of what to write in my book. So I like to collect things to put into my mixing bowl. Here I've collected a little dragon who's coming out of an egg. There he is. I found him in just an old charity shop, and he could go into my bowl. I've got a pirate coin from the bottom of a pirate ship. That could go in my bowl. I have got a scorpion. Can you see him? He could go in my bowl. Maybe he could be a baddie or a goodie. He could sting people. And I've got a long glove here that could be like a witch's glove, or it could be like a superhero glove. And those things would be good in my story. So when I collect things, I think about what they could do. So that big long glove I use in this story here called Superhero Hotel, which is about all kinds of superheroes who stay in a hotel. And you can see that there are long gloves on one of these characters. So that glove really helped me get ideas for that book. Sometimes into my mixing bowl, I like to put things that I make. Sometimes if I get a bit stuck for an idea, I make something. So when I was writing my Fairy Tale Hairdresser and Rapunzel book, that looks like that, I made myself a very, 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 very long Rapunzel plait. And I put it on my head and I walked around with my plait all day, and I wondered what it would be like to have hair that was as long as Rapunzel's hair. And that helped give me lots of ideas. And when I was writing my books with magic potions in, which is all about dragons and the Firebird and things, I made myself lots of little potions, and they look a bit like this, all the different potions. And you can see they've all got different things and different beads and bits of fluff and leaves. And sometimes I like to think, what could that potion do? So here's one I've made with a little bit of tree bark and a little bit of cotton wool. And you can think, if you open that potion and sniffed it, what would it smell like? What kind of magic could it do to my story? Sometimes when I want to have ideas, I use my scrapbook. And scrapbooks are a really good way of collecting things. So here I've collected some pictures. So I've got a little guinea pig, and you can see he looks a bit worried. And a feeling like being worried is a really good way to start a story. What else have I got in my scrapbook that you might like? I quite like this elephant climbing into a car. Looks like he's going on holiday somewhere. And this, at the top here, this is a tadpole's face. Have a look again, because you don't get to see a tadpole's face very often because they're very small tadpoles. But I put it in my book because it looked a bit like he was smiling. So I could start a story that said, once upon a time, there was a tadpole and he was happy. And I could think, why is he happy? Well, maybe he likes swimming. So I could say, once upon a time, there's a tadpole who likes swimming. But when you are a writer, you have to be a bit mean. You have to make something go a bit wrong for your tadpole. Because if our story was, once upon a time, there's a tadpole, he was happy, he liked swimming, the end. That's a very boring story, isn't it? Because nothing's happened. So we have to say, once upon a time, there was a tadpole and he was happy swimming, but, and then we have to think of a bad thing. Maybe a shark could come and eat him up. Maybe a wicked witch could scoop him out of the water. Maybe a scorpion could sting him. Maybe he could find a dragon coming out of an egg. Maybe he could find a magic potion and something could happen to him. So I'm sure that you could imagine a really cool story about that tadpole and things that happened to him. So after I've had my idea, I mix and mix and mix my story around. And I have to do a lot of thinking and imagining. And sometimes I like to mix in stories that I've heard. So sometimes maybe I'm sitting on the bus or I'm in a cafe and I hear something somebody says. I might mix that in. And another thing you could do is you could ask your mummies and daddies or brothers and sisters and carers, what funny thing happened to you when you were little? Because my sister, when she was little, she bent down to sniff a flower and a teeny tiny snail got sniffed up her nose. So we had to go to the hospital and the doctor had to get really, really, really long tongs and stick them up her nose and pull out this teeny tiny snail covered in slimy snot. Yeah. So that could be a really good thing that you might put in your story. So any funny stories that your family have of things they did when they were little, it's a really good thing to put into your stories. So that's one thing you can do. And I also like to put in drawings. So if you like doing drawings like I do, I just do lots of little fun drawings. So here's a little goblin, and he could be good to go into one of my stories too. So you're looking for things to collect. You're looking for things that you can make. You're looking for drawings that you do. And you're looking for things that you can hear, or maybe funny things that you see when you're walking along. And all those things get mixed together in your story. And I have a teeny little notebook that I carry all the time. So wherever I hear something funny or I see something strange, I write it down in my little notebook. And you can see that I'm very messy, because when I get my idea, I want to catch it. Ideas are like special speedy sparkly butterflies. If you don't catch them, they fly away and you lose them. So as soon as I have an idea, I quickly write it down on my notebook. And then I caught my idea and I can take it home with me and look at it when I get home. And when I get home, that's when I work really, really hard on my idea. And I have a big notebook. And in my big notebook is where I do a lot of scribbling. You can see all the stuff I scribble all the time. And I don't worry about getting it perfect. I don't worry if it's a bit messy. I just get my idea down, and later on, I look at my idea and I try to make it the best it could be. So we've got some time to have some questions now. I'm just going to have a look in the chat thing to see if there's any questions yet, and I can start answering some of your questions right away as I talk to you. Has anyone got a question they'd like to ask me? Oh, someone says, Christian says, how long does it take to write a book? Goodness me, well, it can take a really, really long time, because I have to do the words and somebody has to do the pictures, and then somebody has to mix all that together. So when we make a book, for example, this is my new fairy tale hairdresser book about Red Riding Hood. So I do the words and Lauren does the pictures. And then they have to put a cover on the book. And in my covers, they have a lot of glitter. And I don't put the glitter on, which is very lucky because I'm very messy and it would go everywhere. Someone else does that. And then they have to put this bit of the book on the side. I bet you know what this word is for this book on the side. It's called the spine. It's like the spine of your back. It's really hard on the side of a book. And somebody has to put these words on the back of the book. That's called the blurb. And it tells you whether you want to read the book or not. So all those things have to happen. So it can take about 2 years really to make a book between me writing it and it going on the shelf.
Thank you for joining us today. And Abby, thank you so much for telling us all about Story Soup.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Big wave.